eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Thanks for being with us. Happy October the 26th. It's Wednesday. Happy birthday to my middle daughter, Sarah. So it's her birthday today. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday as well to all you that have birthdays today. And happy hump day. It's the middle of the week for anyone who has weekends and a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday kind of gig. It's which is a lot of people. So happy hump day, Wednesday. Happy day after the election day. We'll be talking about some of the breakdown of, that. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. I felt almost like ill-prepared, though, yesterday. A lot more ill-prepared than possibly I am today. You're listening to us on Q92. Yeah, you're listening to us on Q92. You're listening to us on CKLU 96.7 FM. On the radio. You can also listen to us online. If you are streaming us, you go to cklu.ca, click on the logo for the Radio Player Canada app, and then you could also simply just click on that same logo and download that app and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. And that's how it works. So we stream live on the radio, online. We're on the radio. We're also, we're on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News. I'll be looking for your comments. Cannot share them again today. That was the second time again in a row. I went back and did some troubleshooting. Didn't work. Wasn't surprised. And so just know that your comments probably won't be able to come up on the screen for sure. However, I'm going to try monitoring it just like I did yesterday, keeping tabs on the comments and bringing them into the show, because this is your conversation on your station and on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. And again, if you're watching on YouTube and you're commenting, I won't be able to see them today because the software that we use isn't bringing in those comments. And so, so that's that. Let's just get some weather out of the way, and then I'm going to bring in Nick because she's ready and chomping at the bit to come on and talk. And we got a long show today. There's a lot to talk about. There's the politics of, our election that we just had and the results of it and what it means. And there's possibly a conspiracy or two that we can just kind of gently go over without going into it too much. So anyways, that's that. And we'll be back right after some weather, right after this. Yeah, you gotta love my weather because my computer with all the glitches and all that stuff, it's just the way that it goes in the big city. So here you go, weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently it's 13 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. 18 kilometers an hour is the wind coming from the southeast, and 84% humidity. Also, if you're looking at today's forecast, cloudy, 30% chance of showers this morning, showers beginning near noon, wind becoming northwest, 20 kilometers, gusting to 40 this afternoon, high of 15, temperature falling to +4 this afternoon. So we talked about these more seasonal temperatures coming in, and that's exactly what's going to be taking place today and going forward. Tonight, showers ending this evening, then cloudy with a 30% chance of showers, wind northwest, 20 kilometers, gusting to 40, becoming light before morning, low tonight, -1. So yeah, we've been experiencing some higher than normal temperatures. So it's going to be going to more seasonal. So tonight, -1. Thursday. So tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud. Wind will be a normal 20 to 40 kilometers an hour. And then the high will be only 6 UV index is 3 or moderate. Long term, Thursday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 6. Friday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 7. Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 10. Sunday, mostly cloudy. And then for now, anyways, they're predicting, forecasting that on Monday, which is Halloween, which if you have the little kitties and you're going to be giving out treats to little kitties, they're forecasting a 30% chance of showers. So we're hoping that, that'll clear up for the kids' sake and they'll be able to go out without, getting too wet for Halloween. Look at your satellite image here. Just want to look at a lot of clouds going on over our heads at the moment. And that's the way it looks in Northern Ontario. A lot of activity. And you could expect some cooler temperatures tonight as it will dip to the minuses. And I'd like to say good morning to Pam, if we're looking at the, or just a Nick is saying, hey, Pam, I guess, monitoring the comments in the comment section. We'll be right back with a Nick and headlines right after this. Okay, good morning, Nick. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Aaron. I'm doing really good. Looks like it's going to be an okay day today. And I went out and voted. Lots of stuff is going on in our city. And, I don't know if I would have went and voted if it wasn't for the show. So I'm really grateful for the show. It kind of puts things in perspective and puts us, it just makes us talk about it. I love this Sudbury News Talk. We're talking about things that are important in our city. So, And I was this close of actually not voting because I forgot what day was voting. I find the city didn't really do a good job of advertising to go out and vote. I didn't hear it on, I didn't hear much about it on the radio. I didn't really see it online. I feel like the city should be paying for advertisement on Facebook because that's where everybody is. Nobody's really, I don't have cable. I know so many people that don't have cable. And even who was elected, I had to go and search about it. I didn't even know who won unless you watch the news.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I think people are going to go out and find that if you're interested in voting. It's always kind of been that way. A lot of people are apathetic to it, and they actually don't, unless you go out and, people do watch the news, and if they want to hear about things, they'll tune into the news, right? They'll look for the news.
You're just hitting one kind of clientele, and they're seeing a decline in people voting. So if you really want people's voting, you need to go and attract different demographic. If it's only the same demographic that is voting, maybe you should start advertising about it.
Yeah. Now, to your point, and I was listening to CBC the other day, and they said there was a community where it was an initiative where they did say the way that it starts is sometimes a mystery. People don't know the deadline that they can go and put their name in to run. And a lot of times they hear it in the news after that, so-and-so and so-and-so are running and the deadline's over or whatever. And that's the city clerks or the town clerks are the ones that kind of have their finger on that pulse. Anyways, so this initiative went out, and instead of just relying on the city to do it, they put out pamphlets in everyone's mailbox saying, here's what it takes if you want to run. This is what's involved. This is what you'd be paid if you got in for the different councillor or mayor. And this is what your schedule would be like. You would have to go to certain meetings, be on certain committees. It would take X amount average time out of your schedule. So it really kind of it educated people as to, maybe you could be someone who could run, because a lot of people have just ideas of what it's like in their minds of, I can't run because of ... And maybe it's not true. So they also then gave the deadline. So if you want to, this is what you do. Here's the link to go to sign up. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to have. And by doing that, they more than tripled the amount of people
Well, no
running
guff. You're
and
advertising. You're
voting.
going out
Yeah,
there. Yeah, you're putting
yeah,
the pamphlets in the mailboxes,
yeah,
of course, and then you're letting people know I can get paid to do this. Oh, I can actually
yeah,
make a difference.
yeah.
Then people can search about it. So it doesn't take a science like a genius to figure that one out. That's what I'm saying.
They
They
said a
should have
lot of times
done.
it comes from the inside because those are the insiders. Those are the ones that know how the process works. And so it would come from the inside. And so you'd have like a former clerk or you'd have a former auditor general like we had in our former mayor. They're the ones who run because they know how the processes work. And they're usually the ones that kind of get their name in the hat and then run and then get in. So yeah, it was a really cool initiative. I thought we should maybe look into something like that around here. But I don't think there was a shortage of people running in our city.
Nope.
You know,
Nope.
we
That
had
was
eight.
good. So whatever they did there, that was good.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, but I know for the school board council, there was nobody running. Only one person went for the job.
Well, there's many. So there's 3 school boards, or
Yeah.
what, is there 4?
Like in my district,
Yeah.
they were just the winners because
So
nobody
yeah,
was running. against
they were
them.
uncontested, right? They were just the former people, and I noticed that too. I was looking through all the trustees, and it was like you said, a lot of them were just already they were uncontested, and they just got in. So that's one thing. If you're interested in running for a school board trustee, look at that next time, and you know, you throw your name in the hat, you might have a chance. But it's not just about doing it, or you know, it depends. If you have a passion, it depends why you want to do this. You hopefully have people in there that really want to serve your community, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
For
make a
sure. But
difference.
it's the voting. It's the people voting. If
Yeah.
more people voted, things would they would change dramatically, but people aren't interested because we've lost faith in the system.
Yes,
But saying that, there's a lot of things going on in the news. And Aaron, did you notice what I'm wearing?
I did. Yes.
So I'm actually representing Mrs. Sudbury District at the at a pageant this weekend. It's a Mrs. and Miss Empowerment pageant, and Cheryl Cazero has had 25 years of experience in pageantry.
Yep.
So that's happening this weekend, and it's all about empowering women. It's all about team building. It's all about celebrating women. It's all about self-acceptance. It's all about accepting diversity and educational seminars. It's really, really exciting. They're trying to change the whole they're trying to change the whole perspective of pageantry because
Okay.
I'm talking.
Cool.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'm super pumped. And if anybody wants to go and support it, it's this weekend on Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll be on stage. There's no bikini or anything like that. It's just it's really different, and I'm kind of nervous.
And where is it again? Where is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, right here. It is at it's $20 a ticket, and it's at the Northbury Hotel at 7 p.m.
Northbury Hotel.
Yeah.
7 p.m. And that's
7
right on Douglas Street, I believe, beside the Mine Mill Hall or whatever it is there, where they have a lot of events and stuff. So so the Northbury, 7 o'clock Sunday. It's Miss Empowerment. And how many?
Miss and Mrs. Regional Canada Empowerment Pageant.
Okay.
And I am going for Mrs. Sudbury District. I am representing Miss Sudbury District. So it's something different. I'm all about doing different things, participating, networking. This is what, you know. And I figured I was asked to participate, and I said, why not?
So this is for Canada. There'll be people from all over Canada here?
Yeah.
So people Miss Calgary, Miss Montreal, whatever.
I think it's only, that's just the title of the pageant. It's going to be all of Ontario.
Okay, so it's Ontario. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, is it going to, or if you win that, do you go
Yes,
to
then you
Canadian?
can go to other pageants and Miss International and
Cool.
things like that. Yeah.
Well,
So we'll
Pam's
see.
definitely saying good luck, and Nick at the Northbury Hotel.
Thank you.
She might be there. And you know who else would probably really appreciate that is Natalie, who just won Ward 7. She's been on the show. She constantly, since being on the show, has been a really great contributor. And we've been talking about election related things. And she's been really good to give us the details when we might not have had all the details. So we're really grateful for that. She's obviously
pumped. I'm pumped for her because if she was in my ward, I would have voted for her because I really like her energy. I like her spunk. I love that she's super passionate, and she's been really advertising the events that are happening in her ward, which is really cool.
She's really active for sure
Yeah.
in her ward. And she was the only one who lived. I thought she could just run on that alone. I'm the only one candidate who lives in the actual boundaries of my ward,
Yeah, it's true. My daughter woke up a little bit earlier than expected today, so I'm just going to go make her a snack and I'll be right back, guys.
Hey, sounds good. Well, we'll be able to just chat about some news here. And anyways, Natalie. So congratulations, Natalie. New Ward 7 counselor says new city council must develop trust. Natalie Labby says the fact that she actually lives in the ward may have helped. Obviously, I think, like I was saying, I think the idea that alone could possibly have won it for her. And but that's huge news. Now we have somebody that has really done a lot, and she got a lot of flack for promoting the show. She promoted the show on her Facebook page, and a lot of haters came on and said, "Oh, well, they had someone on who endorsed the truckers, so you shouldn't watch or listen to that show." And I was like, "Wow, is that the kind of world we live in?" So because CTV News interviewed somebody when they went to Ottawa that was for the truckers, you shouldn't watch CTV News anymore? Is that really true? Like, do we really think like that? Anyway, so Natalie went back to this person and said, no, that's not the show. The show actually talks to people about, just unpacks things. And if someone has to happen to have a perspective that maybe they supported something to do with the truckers, they don't just shut them down and cancel them out and shut them off, listen to them, and then someone else can speak. And then, I thought that's what kind of country we lived in. And then here's Natalie now. I'm going to the pageant, Nick, so Natalie's going to be going there. And with her friend Bridget as well. And good morning, Jerome.
Oh, yay. I'm so excited. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so fun. But like what you were saying, that's a really good point, Aaron. How ridiculous is that? So because people talk about a certain subject, it means that you're totally involved. Or if because I have my own opinion, that's not the opinion of the whole show. That's what makes the show exciting, is that there's different people on the show with different opinions.
Yeah.
So that's what journalism is having different perspective of the events. It's not just one perspective. And we've noticed that in the news, they're only talking about one side of the event.
Yeah. And that is, again, in journalism, you should be getting to the bottom of getting to the truth, let's say. But in our day, it just seems like one truth is one thing for one person, and another truth is true for someone else. And that's, we know, is impossible. There's only one sun in the sky. I would hope everyone agrees on that we can see.
I don't know, Aaron. I think you just offended a lot of people.
But again, and that's everyone's right to be offended if I make a claim like that. As far as I can see, there's only one sun, and anyone who's ever talked to who wasn't on drugs also agreed that there's only one sun in the sky during the day. There's no sun in the sky at night. A couple comments coming in, right?
Yeah, we have Pam said, it's very interesting that if students were the voters, Bob Johnson would have won.
Yeah, there was a story, and we covered that here as well. That was the first story after our show yesterday that I shared. Bob Johnston would have won if students voted. He would have been their pick. Just maybe get that up on the screen here. That's the story Pam's referring to. They did an experiment, asked students to fake vote, and Bob got the majority. Oh, interesting. Well, I think he resonated a lot. He was on our Friday guest, and we had so many views on that. And we really appreciated Bob and he was very sincere. He resonated with people because he talked about issues that a lot of, people care about. We talked about the truth. There's only one son or whatever. He said he's just going to speak the truth and that's it. And I think he resonated with a lot of people. Guylain says, that is the kind of world we live in when truth is spoken. That is correct, for sure. So it's hard, right? I guess that's going to be the theme of the show, truth or no truth. And what is your truth? Is it different than other people's? A few years ago, the term "my truth" came out. Well, I'm speaking to my truth. And I thought that was really weird in some ways. Good in some ways if you're speaking from your experience, because your experience is your truth. But this is a microphone, regardless of what your truth is. So I just want to, you know what I mean? I just don't want to go into la la land of your truth and my truth. And, your truth is your truth as far as experience is concerned. You can say my experience is, that's why I thought my truth, it's not really the right terminology for that. So truth is truth. Truth is something that's possibly self-evident, that it just is. And if you go against it, good luck with that one. Like if your truth was, I can drive in the other lane and it doesn't matter. If that's your truth. Well, see how that's going to work for you if you try and put that into the real world kind of thing, right? Your truth, I can drive in the opposite lane and there's no consequences. So anyways, Jerome says people that believe trucker protest was a problem are the problem. See, so then again, right? So you have very passionate views and understanding as someone who's very against whatever happened with the trucker movement. You need to just kind of like step back for a second. And those that are really losing patience with the ones who don't understand the truckers, I think we have to exercise. We just always have to have patience for other points of view.
It's true.
That's all there is to it.
Yes, we have to be open, but regardless, it's again, the news only shared one or two things that the cops really initiated in the protest. We've seen protests, Aaron, that created tons of violence, and that was okay. The journalists would be there, and there's fire in the background, and people burning down cars, and they're like, Trudeau was there. He was all supportive, but then there's this peaceful protest, like with jumping castles, and it was just a horrible situation. The news was just sharing how it's a horrible situation, and it's just like that. What's great though, Aaron, is that opened up a lot of people's minds because they went to Ottawa and they're like, this is not what they're talking about online. So, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise for us because it makes things obvious of what kind of message they're trying to do. And no politicians even tried to talk to the peaceful protests. And so it's just odd to me how some people can't see that, but that's just me.
So what happened was that it was politicized. So let's just take this whole conversation. I don't want to talk too much about this.
No,
it's not really, but I was just, because Natalie really got some hate from some people when she was promoting the show. And I guess those people maybe tuned in for a bit and we were kind of talking favorably or maybe listening to somebody or saying they're not the devil,
Yes. I was pro the trucker movement because I was participating. Like I went and saw and I did a live feed, but even just that, Aaron, that moment is a moment in history. Regardless if you're pro or against, it's a moment in history.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's historic. It was historical regardless of what side of the fence you're on. That's never happened before. So if you go back to the crux of the matter, the whole issue was the prime minister refused. It was politicized. This whole issue was politicized because there was a movement starting up against such tough mandates. Not everyone agreed with how stringent the mandate was, but Canada was a forerunner in the world, going above and beyond what most countries even did. And really, our mandates were stricter than most countries, which had some backlash from certain people. And again, right. So it's like the government chose to drive in the opposite lane and said there's not going to be any repercussions for this. We're just going to lock down the whole country and everyone's going to be fine with it. And everyone's going to think, oh, that's the best decision. Well, not everyone thought that. And that's democracy.
And that's okay.
But what they found was a lot of the people who agreed with, loosening some of the mandates and allowing the economy to continue. So if the economy stopped, who cares about COVID? We're all going to starve because no one's making anything and no one's going to be eating anything because no one's producing anything. And we're going to go back to the Stone Ages. So why would we do that? There are some other things that could have possibly been done. But what happened was the prime minister, because he's from one political point of view, he noticed a lot of the people from this movement of let's open things up a bit tended to be from another political kind of point of view. So now, hey, I got an opportunity now to kind of dig in my heels, politicize this, demonize the one side, and say conservatives are the devil,
right?
And they're wrong, and then began this politicalized campaign. Now, unfortunately, the media does have to go along with the current government because that's the way they're funded.
They're getting paid. Yeah,
they're getting
funded.
paid. They're not going to go against. So if the government comes out and says this, they're not going to say, well, are you sure or anything? They're not even going to do that. They're just going to say whatever the government says. So the media now becomes an arm of the government.
It's true. We have a comment. Karen says, nope, nothing was peaceful. For those poor souls who had to hear those darn horns 24/7 for weeks on end was unacceptable.
True.
And that I could totally
That is true.
that. I live downtown Ottawa. If you can appreciate the horns for what they were and what they're trying to fight for, like they lost their jobs, these people, lost their homes. Some people lost their homes because they couldn't afford to survive. I feel like a horn is something worth doing, but that's just my opinion. But here, this is a show where everyone's allowed their own opinion, Karen, and you're allowed your opinion. And I could see that. I could understand how that could be really frustrating. But here's the thing. If anyone would have just spoken to the protests, day 2, those horns would have stopped right away.
So let me piggyback on what you just said. Yeah, because that's exactly where I was getting to. And I'm glad, Karen, that you shared that, because you share a perspective that many, many, many Canadians and Sudburyans share about that. And there's a reason why you have that perspective, and Nick alluded to it. So going back to how I began it, it was politicized. And so in the media, it was demonized. And the prime minister said, I can't speak to people that are on the fringe. He called them a small fringe group, first of all. A small fringe group. So, to your point, if a small fringe group came to downtown Ottawa and beeped their horns, would that have affected the people of downtown Ottawa? Just a small fringe group honking their horns? That wouldn't have. So right away, they proved they weren't a small fringe group. If you look on YouTube and it shows miles and miles and miles and miles of the convoy and people everywhere, millions of people in Canada supported that. Millions is not a small fringe group. So you can see how now our prime minister, if you love him, it's okay, but he did make a mistake there. He made a mistake. He's the prime minister of Canada. He's the prime minister of those millions of people as well. And they didn't agree with him, but he's still their prime minister and he still has responsibility. So what he did is he provoked and he called a fight, almost like a high school, fight. He said, oh yeah, I'm not backing down. I'll meet you after school. That's what he said to this movement. Instead of, okay, let's talk. He talked to every other movement. And Nick alluded to the Black Lives Matter or other protests that were going on, they caused damage, a lot of damage, which is factual, and you can prove that. Fires, businesses burnt down, whatever.
There's a full documentary on it now in the States that an individual created, and how much money they spent and where their money went, and nothing is in the community. And a lot of people talking about how our cities are still completely destroyed.
Which I'm not saying is wrong or right. So I'm not even saying Black Lives Matter was wrong for doing that, for what their cause was. Sometimes you got to stand up and, sometimes you got to make a stand at things. So they chose to stand up for what they believed in, which was equality or equity for, a group that's marginalized or has been in history. And I agree with a lot of the things that were done in history were not correct. And so they now are taking this opportunity to say, look, enough's enough. And that's the way they did it. But Prime Minister Trudeau spoke to them, no problem. He actually protested with them, alongside them, to show his solidarity, because they're Canadians and they had a cause. But because they were protesting the very thing the government was doing, now that's not, like, how could he go down there and be with them when they have views that are totally against? So
if
he politicized
would
it.
exactly, if JT would have went to the protest, spoke to them and said, okay, we are all allowed to our own opinion, and I'm gonna, because that's what we're allowed in Canada. We're allowed to peaceful protest, or regardless, protest. We're allowed to protest. And he wouldn't have said small fringe, then that wouldn't have created that perspective. So Jesse says, I hate to tell you this, but you're completely wrong. They were using their trucks as weapons, and that is not a protest. You are not seeing it clearly. And then we have, Rachel Trudeau is a dictator, communist, China lover. He is most hated person in the world. So it's just, and it's okay.
But do you see how opposite those perspectives are?
I know,
right? When really it's somewhere in the middle of both of those, and that is the truth. You ever hear there's three sides to a story? Your side, my side, and the truth. So that is, and again, the media is to blame for this. Well, first of all, politicians and the media, unfortunately. So yes, when you don't listen to a group and you don't go through the democratic ways of doing things, and Trudeau was not going to speak to these people, he was not going to address any of these things, and so it escalated. And whose fault was it that it escalated? A lot of these people were losing their jobs. If you were losing your job, maybe you would feel differently, and you'd feel a little bit like trying to do something about it. And so a lot of these people were all losing their jobs due to mandates at the same time. So they all got together. It was kind of like a no-brainer. Like if your whole company all lost their jobs at the same time, and you all agreed that this wasn't right, that it could have been avoided somehow, you might all get together and say, hey, we need to do something about this. That's as simple as an explanation as you can get as to what happened.
And Aaron, now we're years later, and they just drop all the mandates. So what does that show? That
right after that, they started dropping all the mandates, and they said it wasn't because of that, because they didn't want to give any of that any credit, which again is politicized, right? Very politicized.
Jesse says, everyone likes to blame Justin Trudeau when he's done better for this country in the last 3 years than anyone's done in the last 30.
Which is your perspective, and that's great. And I think in a lot of ways, he probably did do a lot of things. When you look at, that's what I used to think. People used to get, now Jesse, if I asked you the same thing about Donald Trump, I'm sure you'd say he's the devil. But he also did a lot of really good things while he was in office. See, but that's hard for us to think of when we're politicized. Our minds can't go there even. Like a lot of people, when you said that about Justin Trudeau did a lot of good things, a lot of people would get, you're pushing their buttons now. Like they're like, no, he's the devil. He's only evil. He only does evil. He wakes up with evil intentions. And someone who probably feels that about Justin Trudeau would probably think the same thing about a Donald Trump. He's only evil. He only does evil things. He's never done anything good. And so that's not true as well. So if you're going to share that perspective, then you also have to be open to someone else and not buy into that game, the media game, the political game. It's basically WWE. There's a villain and there's a good wrestler, and you're going to go for the good wrestler. And the good wrestler is whatever WWE tells you they are. Okay? And so one thing is you have to do your research. You have to look at the policies Justin Trudeau has done. Look at what he's done for the economy. How is our economy right now? Is it really strong?
Not really. Someone had a really good point too. They legalized marijuana. They're making millions and millions of dollars extra, and our taxes are going up. Everything's going up. So I thought we were going to save. They're making tons more money. There's marijuana stores everywhere.
Yeah.
They're just not keeping their promises. So people are just losing faith.
So I so appreciate all of your points of view, and I know they're polarizing in the comments. And again, they're one side or the other. And the whole idea of this conversation is to dive deeper than the surface. The surface wants you to pick a side. Pick that side or this side. You only have two choices.
And that's not true.
You're
You
either
don't.
for or against. Why can't you be, wait a minute, let me hear this out first? And that's the whole idea that's my whole mission in life, actually.
I agree. And you know what? Like Jesse says, honestly, I despise most of the political system. It's based on separation and fighting
Exactly.
as groups, not working together.
Exactly. 100%.
That's
You
what the
said
news
that
is doing.
bang
It's
on.
poking on the bear. It's
Yep.
just one opinion and a strong opinion, over exaggerating of the opinion, and
Yep.
then it makes people upset because like you're gaslighting me. This is not actually what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
remember at the height of Donald Trump, I remember because this stuff annoys me, that everyone had to hate him. Like what do you know about him? Have you met him? What do you really know? You're just going off what CNN is telling you, or CTV or CBC. So I actually brought up something to somebody about, actually Donald Trump has done something good, and he had to walk out of the room. He actually couldn't continue the conversation. He was like, I can't. He just walked out. And I thought, that's the result. So this is what happens. You actually can't even verbalize. You can't even speak anymore because your emotions are so caught up in stuff. And again, it's all theater.
Just crazy,
It's all theater.
Aaron. Like, if Trump had a son that was addicted to crack and liked young girls, that would be a huge topic. But because Biden does, everyone's like, well, be nice. And some people struggle, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's just always one-sided. It's okay for one group, but it's not okay for the other group. And it kind of just gets kind of crazy.
Yeah. So,
But
and again,
we're getting lots of comments here.
yeah,
And,
people are passionate about this. There's no doubt about it. And Karen's very passionate.
Yeah, and it's okay. That's good. I like seeing passion. Passion is good.
Yep.
It moves.
Yep.
Miles says, we get too tribal, then all lose and not get close to the root of the problem.
100%. Every political leader promises the world. That's correct. And then everyone's saying Pierre is the second coming of Christ. He says what everyone wants to hear. And let's see if he
and then
will get back in office.
Right.
When all
Shane
these policies...
says, I appreciate the balanced perspective on the show. It's a breath of fresh air. Exactly. That's what we are. Like, if you have a different opinion, it's okay. We're going to share it.
So one thing I want to go to is how the media was used to demonize that movement in Ottawa.
Okay.
Remember the unknown soldier monument, the monument of the unknown soldier, and
yes,
they accused some of the protesters of urinating on the unknown soldier. They didn't have them doing it. They didn't have any witnesses. All they had was some yellow snow to the side of the unknown soldier. And they said that must have been one of the people that were involved in the movement. But to me, I was like, if I had, did some of those people down there have animals, do you think? Maybe dogs?
I think so. There's lots of dogs. Even people that weren't part of the protest, they're probably just walking around, going to work or walking their dog because lots of people live downtown.
So then, no, and Karen too, I think she might have taken off her comment about Donald Trump I actually, for the record, I never liked Donald Trump. So that's what I mean. I put Donald Trump's name on Facebook one time. It was just black background with white Donald Trump. That's all I did. I didn't say I love Donald Trump. I didn't say I hate Donald Trump. I just put his name out there. And you should have saw what happened. Oh, there was the lovers. Oh, you're on board with Donald Trump's the greatest. He's going to do everything. He's the best, And then other people say, how dare you put his name? He is such a this, that, and the other. And I'm telling you, all I did was put his name. But what did that do? I didn't say I was for him. I didn't say I was against him. It was a little experiment I did out there. And if anything rattles you so much about that, then you just have to start looking inward and see what the media is doing to you. If it's pushing your buttons and you're believing something and getting so caught up in something, it's the same and there's no difference. Are we all on board here that wrestling, professional wrestling, is not real wrestling? It's not really competitive?
And I always say, like, politics is left wing or the right wing of the same bird.
Yeah, exactly. So if we're getting all riled up, it's no different. And if you haven't watched professional wrestling, just go on WWE the next time you get chance, watch it, and that's politics. And you go, those people are insane. They're all cheering. They're thinking it's real. Well, that's you watching CNN. There's no difference. They also have the commentators there for the WWE talking about, oh, this one was going to get the other guy, and this guy said this about the other guy, and getting you all riled up, and then they come in the ring, and it's all theater. Not one difference between world politics and that. And who was part of WWE before they became president? Donald Trump. He was right in there. So it's all the same. It's all a spectacle. It's all a spectacle.
Yeah, all theatrics.
It's all theatrics. And that's the game.
Look
that is
over
politics. Yeah.
I'm going to do this for you guys. It's all shiny. I'm going to do this. I promise this. And then in the end, we all forget what they promised. Nobody's held accountable and we just forget about it.
Yeah. So Jesse says something about wrestling here. It's mix of pageantry and muscle. Daytime soap opera. That's exactly what I think of wrestling. It's like a muscular soap opera in the ring. It's so funny, but the politics is exactly the same. Now, I would put this out to somebody who hates Donald Trump so much. Do you find the same hate for Joe Biden? Could you possibly think of Joe Biden in the same light as you do Donald Trump? Well, if you don't, I would challenge you or invite you to really do a deep dive as you did. If you didn't do a deep dive into Donald Trump and you hate him, well, then there's a problem there to begin with. But if you do a deep dive, there's enough things that should make you go, oh my goodness, this guy is not good. And you can find that pretty much for, I would say 99% of the people that are in power at the top, as far as from what I've been able to uncover. So being on one side, we're all on each other's side. All the people that are bickering and arguing, we're on each other's side. Like we've been divided and conquered. We've been divided and conquered.
We all want the same thing in life.
That's right.
We all agree. Want freedom. We all want love. We all want a happy life. We all want the same things in life. And that's what kind of got me into seeing different things, Aaron, because I was like, what is the other side seeing? Like, I need to check this out because it is so diverse. And then I started looking at different sides. I'm like, whoa, like, this is kind of insane. And then you start seeing TikToks and people like, that's not real news. But these are real people with real testimonies that are at the event or wherever. I'm not even talking about the truckers. I'm talking about, other situations that were happening. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. That's not what I was reading on the news. So that opened up a lot of things, that journalism, there's a problem with journalism and that we need to talk about different perspectives.
Exactly.
On that note, I need to drive my daughter's school, but I really love this conversation. I love the different opinions, guys. It makes us a community and it's really good for us. So thanks for watching the show. I will try to be back on. Keep the conversation going, Aaron.
Okay. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for being here. Have a great journey with Journey. Okay, ciao. That was a Nick, which I got rid of myself, which I didn't mean to do. But anyways, okay, I'm just botching everything up. So I'm just going to go back to, there you go. Look at that. Follow us on Sudbury News. That was a Nick. Anyways, she's a burst of energy. She's going to be part of the women empowerment pageant of North America or whatever of Canada, but it's basically an Ontario thing. It'll be at the Northbury at 7 p.m. on Sunday. Get out and support her, and that'd be awesome. So Jerome says, oh yes, Biden is a puppet, like they all become when voted in. So yeah, I think most people are on the same page there, and we got to stop bickering with each other, get on the same page, and realize that I think together we're united, and we don't want to be divided and conquered, because that's kind of like a tactic. It's a tactic from people in power, and you just have to realize it. Anyways, it's a rabbit hole of sorts too. It takes some maybe some tough thinking. You got to kind of backtrack a bit, it could be uncomfortable to start thinking, period, or just start thinking differently, or start looking at things for what they really are, like reality. Reality is cool. I like it. I like being on the side of reality. Speaking of reality, and speaking of Sudbury, Sudbury City Council, 9 return along with 4 new faces. Now, this is local politics. It seems like the more and more we're talking about this high up politics, it's kind of making its way down to municipal, possibly, as we see a retired MP, coming into now being the mayor, who have, obviously party ties, and, has the network is all kind of in there. How do we know if this person is independent and is really going to, look at the views of Sudbury or not? So we're going to be kind of looking at that to try and keep some accountability. But as we go through some of these stories here, there was a fire on Highway 69. There was a crash. No injuries, however. Nipissing West OPP and Astaire Fire Department responded to a single vehicle crash earlier yesterday. This is a story we covered a while back. There was a dispute with a land dispute. There was like a corner of a property that these owners of the property wanted to buy off Laurentian University, but Laurentian wouldn't sell it to them for the longest time. They wouldn't play ball with them, but they finally came up with a solution, and it's finally over. And actually, I want to dive into that just a bit. Sudbury couple reaches settlement with Laurentian University over property encroachment. Laurentian and James Crispo say they can't go into details of the proposed settlement. The couple has reached a proposed settlement with Laurentian University regarding long-standing land encroachment disagreement. 2016, James Crispo, Dominique Ansel bought their home on South Bay Road, and later discovered Laurentian University owned almost half of their backyard, including their septic system, patio, and pool shed. Yeah, and since then they've been trying to kind of work that out, but Laurentian wasn't playing ball. I guess maybe the insolvency kind of shed some light on things, and they maybe needed the money. I'm not sure, but they can't go into details, so we'll never know. Okay, so Karen says, I think they get in to change the system and realize they have to play by the rules. Yeah, this place has rules for sure. And that's speaking politics. Lefebvre is not a Ford guy. Might be hard getting things for Sudbury again. You know what, though? I don't think so, because Ford's all about giving mayors more powers, right? So if we get that here, Lefebvre just by default will have more power, period, and that will basically get things rolling. And remember, Nick was saying that, 2 parties are 2 wings, right wing, left wing of the same bird. Start looking at it that way a little bit, and you'll see maybe some truth nuggets in that as well. There was a couple court things going on here. Sudbury man downtown faced sentencing. I thought there was a little humor in that if we would have had some time. He ended up throwing a box of Smarties at somebody, hit them in the forehead. That was part of what he did. Anyways, I thought that was rather humorous. I was going to go into that with a Nick, but we ended up getting on a rant about media and politics. So too bad we couldn't go into that. Public invited to an annual poppy flag raising this Friday. Massive flag measuring 4.5 meters by 9 meters will be raised at the corner of Falconbridge and the Kingsway. So we're invited for that on Friday. You can see that on Sudbury News Facebook page, sudburynews.com/Facebook. And this was a big upset. Robert Kerwin losing in Ward 5. And he basically is is graciously, bowing to defeat. I wish the new counselor the best of luck. And that was Michel Perron, who defeated him. 81 or something % of the vote in Ward 5, Perron received. McLaughlin won't challenge close Ward 4 race, critical of winner's campaign. He says Pauline LaFortune engaged in American-style toxic politics. Oh, there you go. There's something to go along with what we were talking about here. You may have seen this. Watch this. Nichols City climbs to number 6 on list of rattiest cities. Rattiest cities. So cities with the most rats is what that's referring to. And Sudbury is number 6 on Canadian cities. So, ouch. I wouldn't even want it to be in the top 10 of that list myself. Here's a great story. Sudbury powerlifter to compete at Special Olympics in the World Games in 2023. You want to know more about that? Northern CTV Northern Ontario shared the story about José Seguin will represent Canada at the Special Olympics at the World Games in 2023. Seguin, who lives with cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and vision impairment, has competed on an international level before. So congratulations, Jose. We're hoping you all the best there. Special Olympics rocks. I love the Special Olympics. And speaking of our new mayor, we had a little clip of him yesterday. Paul Lefebvre, former MP for the Liberal Party for about 6 years, was the Sudbury representative of the Sudbury riding for the in Ottawa, representing Sudbury. Retired, he said, due to family reasons, and now not sure if those have been settled or not, but he's now currently voted in as our mayor, receiving 26,000 votes or so. But let's just listen to an interview with him as CTV interviewed him following his victory.
The new mayor in Sudbury is the former 2-term MP, Paul Lefebvre. He's a lawyer, owns several businesses, including a number of French language radio stations in the north. He's a prominent figure in the Francophone community, but says he's dedicated to growing Sudbury and to making it a place that people want to live. And joining me now to talk about the victory last night and about what's ahead is the new mayor-elect of Greater Sudbury, Paul Lefebvre. Welcome, Mr. Mayor-elect. Congratulations.
Good evening. Thank you.
The strategy for change op-ed that you wrote during your campaign said you would like to grow the city of Greater Sudbury to 200,000 people someday. What are your ideas on how to go about that?
Well, certainly we're very lucky that there's a lot of jobs here but we're having a hard time filling them. So certainly attracting that talent, making it a welcoming place. Certainly we need more housing, right from the transitional housing, more bungalows. So we need an affordable housing with that. So we need to have a strategy to make sure that we tap in to the federal government and the provincial government programs to go and get that funding, number one. And on the labor side, certainly teaming up with a lot of businesses that are looking for talent, either looking for that talent in Toronto and around the world, to say that Sudbury is open for business, and certainly that is also open for employment opportunities, because it's a great place to live. So many trails here, all the lakes that we have, and it's just a great place to raise a family and to grow old as well. And certainly we need to promote that, and that has not been done, and that's one of the things that I want to do.
Now, is it easy enough for developers and companies to set up in Sudbury? I know you also said you'd like to take best practices from some other cities in Ontario, even some places close as North Bay, where they seem to have a lot of success with attracting companies.
Well, I think that starts with the mayor's office, right? To say that how can we help investors make it happen here in Sudbury? Not being discouraged, because I've been hearing a lot of stories that basically people are discouraged, and it's hard to do investments in Sudbury, and I want to change that narrative completely. So that's why, for me, any file that is going to be creating jobs or growing the tax base for the citizens of Sudbury, I want to make sure that file is on my desk and we help out these investors to make it happen. Because at the end of the day, the only way that we can keep taxes low in our community is by growing the tax base. Because it's not by raising residential taxes, because that is not sustainable. And so my plan is certainly to work with investors, work with City Hall to make it a lot easier to do it. That's what they're doing in North Bay and other places around Northern Ontario. So we got to start doing that here as well.
Now, as far as issues facing Sudbury and the leadership, I know there's homelessness, addiction troubles, that sort of thing. I know you're going to tackle those. I can't let you go, though, without asking about your plans for a new arena. Where will it be, and how much will you spend?
Sorry, I've been clear on that from the beginning. The city has already borrowed, the citizens of Sudbury have already borrowed $200 million. That is in the coffers. We are paying that back right now. So what do we do with that money? For me, what money that we have right now, what can we get for it? And certainly we need to either get a new arena or refurbish it. But at the end of the day, it's based on what money that we have in the coffers right now. We cannot go borrow at 6, 7, maybe 8% after tomorrow. So we need to make sure that we value every tax dollars that we have and leverage it with other government money that is possible out there. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have that money, we borrowed it for these projects. We need to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck, and that is the proper investments for the citizens of Sudbury.
All right, well.
Yeah, so that was Paula Five, our new mayor-elect, and some of the things that we're gonna see what happens in the future. But I swear, him and Mark Sade are the exact same person. Like they if you just closed your eyes, their voices are exactly the same. They are saying the exact same thing the same way. I love Mark Sade. He was my former boss and just a great guy. But they're the same person. They just sound exactly the same. That's all I could think is that's Mark. That's Mark Sade talking right there. Anyways, so we'll see if we, having somebody who has that point of view that comes from that background, who is a lifelong, not only lawyer, business person, but seems to be later in life a politician, basically. Speaking like a politician, is a politician, has shown that they're a politician. So we'll see how independent he's able to think, work with council and do all that. But that's our job to kind of look at that, talk about it, whatever. And Karen said, talk about the low voter turnout. However, it was up there with one of the highest voter turnouts we've ever had, which is still low. It was over 50,000, and we've only had 50,000 votes as the most in the last 20 years anyways. So it was one of the highest voter turnouts that we've had in recent years. But anyways, we will be back. Same time, same place tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily. Thanks so much, everybody. It was a great conversation. We got right into the trenches there, and we're not afraid to do that. And hopefully you were able to come away from the show, with something. So we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.